this is a story that affects all of us. If you're injured in a car accident, even a minor one, you expect your insurance company to be there for you, right? After all, that's what the commercials promise when we watch them. May not always be the case of late. CNN's investigative correspondent Drew Griffin spent 18 months looking at how insurance companies, your insurance companies, respond to minor impact accident claims. And we're going to spend the rest of this program on this important story as well. Here's part one of Drew's report.
There's an accident in this country every 5 seconds.
Somewhere in the U.S. just now, a car crash.
Yeah, it was a jolt.
A jolt that can leave the car with barely a scratch.
You couldn't tell anything from those pictures.
But can leave driver and passengers with major pain.
I felt immediate, pain. I couldn't even breathe.
Chances are it has happened to someone you know, maybe even yourself. Call them minor accidents or fender benders. The damage to sheet metal is easily repaired, but not always the damage to your body.
I woke up the next morning, I couldn't move. I had severe pain in my back. Down both legs were numb and tingly.
For Ann Taylor, a nurse, the diagnosis was herniated disc muscle tears, and the treatment would mean time off work, physical therapy, and medical bills. A claim Taylor estimated amounted to $15,000. State Farm offered her $2,000.
I was just very insulted.
In an 18-month-long investigation, CNN found that if you are injured in a minor accident like Taylor's, chances are high an insurance company will challenge your medical claim and offer you barely a fraction of your expenses. And in some cases, the insurer will say that you, the policyholder, are flat out lying just to get money. Insurance industry insiders and plaintiffs' lawyers tell us that the auto insurance industry underwent a major change that began 10 years ago. The change involved how much money some big insurers would pay for doctor bills, for rehabilitation, and for wages lost when people like Ann Taylor says she couldn't go to work because of her back pain. The insurance companies wanted to increase profits.
It really came down to three basic elements: a position of delay, a position of denying a claim, and then ultimately, of course, defending that claim that you denied.
The 3 Ds.
Exactly.
Jim Mathis, a former insurance company insider who now testifies against insurance companies, says those 3 Ds have added up to big Bs, as in billions for auto insurance companies.
As long as the public allows this to occur, the insurance companies will get richer, and people will not get a fair and reasonable settlement, period.
For the country's two biggest insurance companies, State Farm and Allstate, the strategy was shaped by the major business consulting firm McKinsey & Company. It was designed to stop paying so much across the board to victims of minor accidents. According to this Allstate training manual, claims handlers were to convince policyholders to accept smaller, walk-away settlements. The ultimate goal was to turn the claims side of the insurance business into a profit center. Allstate and some other insurance companies used a computer system called Colossus to reinforce this hardline approach. Insurance insiders and court documents say Colossus was programmed to predetermine compensation for injuries. State Farm and Allstate would not talk to CNN on camera, but the president of an industry trade group did. He says the critics are all wrong.
Insurers don't blanket deny claims on any grounds whatsoever.
Don't tell that to Ann Taylor. The person who rear-ended her was a State Farm employee driving a State Farm car. Fault was never an issue, but after dragging out her claim, State Farm's offer of just $2,000, Taylor said, was absurd. Taylor hired attorney Jeff Cook and decided instead of settling, she would fight. It turned into a major legal battle, eventually ending up in this courtroom 3 years after the accident. To fight State Farm's denial of her injury claim, Ann Taylor brought in medical testimony. To present its case, State Farm did not bring in any medical expert of its own, but began digging deep into Ann Taylor's past.
The lawyer stands up and says to Ann Taylor during her cross-examination, "Tell the jury about your back injury when you were 16 years old."
In fact, the attorney for State Farm raised questions about Ann Taylor falling off a horse when she was in high school. And the lawyer also asked Taylor about throwing out her back when she moved a patient. The attorney even brought up personal things, that Ann Taylor had to sell a horse, that Ann Taylor had to sell her house, that Ann Taylor had even broken up with a longtime boyfriend. And couldn't all these things add to stress, and that could have caused her back pain?
They didn't have any expert testimony. They never had a physician look at me.
They tried to make you out to be a liar.
Exactly.
The attorney for State Farm did produce one piece of evidence: very large photos of two slightly damaged cars.
They expected the jury to see those and to say, yeah, she really wasn't hurt.
Michael Freeman is a crash expert. He's often called in to testify when insurance companies claim accident victims aren't hurt.
You're eventually being judged by what your car looks like, not by what your doctor says, or by what the impact of a particular crash has had or an injury has had on your life. That's not fair, it's not right, it's fraud.
What surprised Taylor, in the end, is that State Farm's strategy worked. The jury didn't believe she was hurt. They awarded her just $1,500, even less than the take-it-or-leave-it offer she had gotten 3 years earlier.
Why did they look at her and must have assumed this lady's trying to rip off the insurance companies? She's a fraud.
When she walked in the courtroom and she walked to the jury box and she walked to the testimony box and she walked out of the courtroom at lunch and at the end of the day, they assumed that she was not significantly injured.
3 jurors contacted by CNN said the pictures were a major factor in their verdict, and they were surprised the case had taken 3 years to go to court. 2 of them thought that Ann Taylor had already been paid and was simply trying to get more money. One even wondered why Taylor had dragged the case out for so long. It's a case straight out of the McKinsey playbook, the 3 Ds. By denying her claim, State Farm forced Taylor to hire an attorney and sue. After a 3-year delay, Taylor walked into a courtroom with no noticeable pain. And by defending the case for years, State Farm forced her attorney to front expensive litigation costs, which in the end he didn't get back.
They make these cases so expensive to litigate that attorneys won't want to take them.
An Allstate manual spelled it out. Force the claimant and attorney to think about the obstacles they must overcome. Allstate's consultant, McKinsey & Company, told the Good Hands people that Allstate should put boxing gloves on those good hands, dragging the claimant through court for months, if not years. That's right, years. Don't believe it? Shannon Kometz was an Allstate claims agent in New Mexico before she became a cop. She says she was trained by Allstate to treat most minor accident victims as frauds and offer them as little as possible.
$100, yes. I've offered people $50. They have minimal damage to the back of their vehicle, and they're claiming that they're hurt.
But Kometz got to see her company's strategy from the other side.
I turn around and get in a car accident myself. My car has minimal damage, and I can't walk. And I realized, whoa, what am I doing? This is not right.
What insurance companies are doing, says the Insurance Information Institute's Robert Hartwig, is really good for most of us by helping keep premiums down.
What insurers are trying to do is monitor costs, and every insurer is under the same pressure to do it.
Jim Mathis worked for Allstate and State Farm. He says the new strategy was not about keeping insurance premiums down, it was about making more money.
It's not based on the need of the policyholder. It's not based on the injury. It's not based on the individual dynamics of the accident. It's not based on what should be a settlement value or offer to this claimant. It's not based on ethics. It's not based on profits. It's based on how much profit.
Jeff Stemple, University of Nevada, Las Vegas law professor who specializes in insurance issues, says most of the nation's auto insurers have adopted similar tactics.
We can see that policyholders individually are getting hurt by being dragged into court on fender bender claims, and yet we don't see any collateral benefit in the form of reduced premiums even for the other policyholders. So I think now we can say to continue this kind of program is, in my view, institutionalized bad faith.
But remember, Ann Taylor did take her case and State Farm to court. She presented the facts before a jury of her peers, and the jury didn't believe her.
I figured that it was just going to be a fair process. I was the victim. I got hurt. They caused the injuries. I figured that they would make things right.
According to former auto insurance insiders, Ann Taylor found herself confronting yet another part of the Get Tough strategy, a persuasive public relations campaign to make the public believe that people like Taylor, claiming to be hurt in a minor accident, were most likely frauds.
Does the insurance industry believe that a good majority of lawyers out there and a good majority of doctors out there are crooks?
Generally, it's a very small minority who, in fact, impose tremendous costs on everyone else.
But as you're about to see, even though the insurance companies knew most of us were honest, they came up with a strategy that would treat anyone, not just the small minority, as people trying to scam the system. If the critics are right, right now you probably believe that anybody who says they were hurt in a minor fender bender is a liar. That is exactly what the insurance companies want you to think.
Next, part 2 of our series.
If you could take $1,000 off of 1 million claims, do the math.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
You paid your premiums in good faith, but will your insurance company let you down when you need it the most? Investigative reporting. We're bringing it to you from the newsroom.